Most extreme weather was the ice storm. Yep, we had like an inch thick of ice on the car in the driveway, and it was dangerous to walk outside because limbs were falling off trees because they were in ice. And I had cow tongue. I think, they like, because we had like tongue tacos, the Mexican food stores would sell like, I can't remember, lengua, yeah, tongue meat. So that was probably the most exotic thing that I ate. So a lot of, biscuits and gravy. The funny thing is, Kentucky Fried Chicken, it's named for Kentucky, but I think there's like a KFC museum in Kentucky, but it didn't seem to be the thing. Like, it's not like people really talked about it. So, a heavy coat. I had a heavy trench coat. I don't know what the current dress and grooming, standards are, but I had a lined trench coat, so it could be either just water repellent or be warm. But definitely, and gloves and a scarf and all that kind of stuff. I think we were allowed to wear beanies. I don't know if, and some missions if you are, but it gets so cold. You gotta keep yourself protected. And then just wear deodorant in the summer. Drink a lot of water. I wish I'd taken more pairs of pants, because you wear your pants out faster than you wear out your suit. And I think both of my suits were 2-pant suits, and I still almost wore the 2 pairs of pants out faster than the suit. Also have durable shoes. The brand of shoes I got, they were comfortable, but they just disintegrated. And so I got Echoes, and those lasted amazingly well. There's different types of hard experiences. You coming to church and not having any of your investigators come when you had 5 people planning to come to church, that can be pretty challenging. Being in a situation with other missionaries where there's pressure to do something that you're not supposed to do, and you're needing to be the odd one out, can be a challenging situation. And I had great missionaries, served with, awesome, but most missionaries are going to find themselves in a situation at one point where the other missionaries may want to do something, and someone needs to say we shouldn't do that. And just again, it can be very hard for people, whether that's homesickness or being lonely, or just struggling with your desire or your testimony, or just exhaustion, or it's just personally, mentally, and emotionally, mission can be very, very draining. Very, very draining. So you've got to, that goes back to what I was talking about, preparation, really building that foundation for why you're going and why you're out there. So you have that to hold on to. Just taught me not to give up. Honestly, taught me not to give up, and taught me how to have good social skills, I guess. How to deal with challenging situations, getting thrown out of an apartment complex, getting people yelling at you. The best stories. We were asked by a general authority to use inspired questions when we would talk to people, and so that meant asking questions that had gospel terms in them when we street contact. And so we were street contacting a parking lot, which we were able to do in some of the areas that I lived. And I asked one lady, I was like, do you know about the plan of salvation, or do you know that God has a plan for you? And she was like, yeah, my plan is for you to get away from me. And I think it was one of the funniest things ever that happened. I thought it was hilarious what she said. And that's the thing, like, you can't get offended. You just got to laugh because, she just didn't want to be talked to, and that's fine. I respect that. I love the fact that she was kind of funny in how she responded. My dad, I told him that story. He's used it in like a dozen talks in church since then. He's referred to that story all the time, he said. So, well, the first thing that comes to mind is I learned to love dogs. Because like I said, when you go tracting in the country, like, you're going to walk up to somebody's door and the dogs are going to walk you up, or you're going to have the dogs running up at you. And for someone like me that didn't grow up with, pet, and at first kind of scared of dogs, you have to learn pretty quick not to just become friends with the animals, because when you're, like I said, tracking out in the country, usually, dogs might just be out there hanging out, and they're almost always friendly. So I just learned to, little noises or something to tell the dog you're trying to be their friend, hold your hand out, and kind of kneel down a little bit. I was never bit on my mission, never in 2 years. I don't ever recall being bit by a dog. And there were some big dogs too, but yeah, we just became friends. So that was actually funny that I would say that as a life skill, but that was one of the ones that stands out to me. I mean, I got a little probably more adept at biking. Not that I wasn't good at biking, but you're going along the road and buses passing you, and we did take the bus a lot in Louisville. So especially because we didn't have a car when I was a bike missionary in Louisville, so we'd take the bus to church and the bus to zone conference, things like that. We had some members we'd teach that would take the bus, or investigators, like an hour to get to church because you had to change buses. That was pretty incredible to see the faith people would have. And you learn to, I think one of the other life skills was just learning to deal with being uncomfortable. Like I said, when it rains, you keep working. And we'd get like monsoon, it would feel like a monsoon of rain. I mean, it would just be drenching you, and it would just be for like 5 minutes. And so sometimes, if it was just literally going to be a 5 or 10 minute just downpour, we'd just wait somewhere, so you don't not needlessly drenched. But other times, it would just rain a ton, and you just learn to bike in the rain. And if you get dirty, well, you wash your shirt, that's why you do laundry. It just, and being hot and sweaty, we had to take body spray with us, just figuring out how to make stuff work instead of making an excuse, make it a way that it works. Our mission president invited us to stay out all day at one point on our mission, and that meant not going home to the apartment to eat. And because he felt inspired to give that challenge because of the amount of time that it was taking to go home and back, and that travel time that you would lose. And so he said, look, plan it, find members that can feed you, go to the church, keep food at the church, do what you need to. But so just finding ways. That was a life skill, finding ways to do things. And like I said, crime was just not an issue. I was never mugged or anything like that. We'd get asked for money, but the White Handbook's very clear on not giving money out, and I think that's just a generally pretty safe practice to have too, because you just don't know what the situation is, and how drugs or whatever may be involved, and that is hard as a missionary, or was in Kentucky, when people, aren't you supposed to be Christ-like people? I remember one guy, how come you won't give me money for a hamburger? But it's just you can retort with the scriptures about the bread of life that Christ says, this is what I give. So one other thing that I should mention. In some of the backcountry areas of Kentucky and other states, just in Appalachians, it's not really common for people to come knocking on your door. So I didn't serve in those areas, but I'd go there on exchanges and I'd heard the stories. And definitely in some of those areas, people can really wonder what you're doing, and particularly when you're dressed up in white shirts and ties. Sometimes people will be a little suspicious that you're government agents and that you're there for, other reasons or something. So you just had to keep that in mind and just be careful and sensitive to, how you looked and where you were, and just how you present yourself to people to make sure. I just heard stories from members mostly of, guns being pulled on somebody at the doorstep, that kind of thing, that had happened. One member told me that happened to her. She was just a census worker, and she just knocked on somebody's door as a census worker, and they pulled a gun on her because they didn't know why she was there. So just have to be aware of that. People, good people, but they just when you're not used to ever having anybody come knock on your doorstep, there's the possibility that you can meet a barrel at the door. It never happened to me, but it does happen in some of the backcountry areas. Beyond what I've already talked about make solutions, not excuses. Just don't give up. Mission's hard. It's going to be very challenging, and can be challenging for quite a while. All sorts of different trials. Likely you'll have the most difficult trials you've had in your life to date on the mission, I think, for a lot of people, and just don't give up. Keep the foundational habits. They're not that hard to keep. Especially right after your mission. But if you break them, then they're harder to restart. So go read your scriptures every day. Study. Don't just read. Study your scriptures. Most likely you're not going to study the same amount of time that you did as a missionary, but study daily. I think that's far more important than how long you study, that you do it every day, and pray and go to the temple and serve. That's sometimes we remember the first three, but we don't serve or we don't continue to be missionaries. And, that's one I'm still working on, trying to, be a member missionary. But just, keep the foundational habits, and I don't know, don't stress about marriage. If I could say that, because that's one of those things too that, you get home after your mission and everybody gets married really quickly. It's just the statistical thing. I remember within about 2 years from me being home, it seemed like most of my companions were married and I was the odd one out. Everybody's time will come. Just don't worry about it. Be patient and just be excited. Put the same passion you had into your mission into the rest of your life, and the new opportunities that you have with school and career and family, and make that priority.